question. If you want to make a comment, use a capital C, a hyphen, then you type your comment. So this instruction help the moderator pick out question section engagement. So ensure you can hear what's happening in your surrounding despite being in a meeting. So if you're using a headset, a headphone, kindly ensure that you're aware of what's happening in your surrounding. So have this situational awareness, and don't forget to stay safe and work safe and join the meeting safely. Thank you very much, everyone. So next on the list is the recitation of the national anthem. Just like we all know, today is a very special day in Nigeria. So I'm going to play the national anthem for us, so it would aid us in reciting the national anthem. And as we can hear me. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, Marianne.
Oh, all right. So please let us be on our feet anywhere you are in respect of Nigeria. Let us take the national anthem together collectively. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless Nigeria. God bless SP International. God bless SP Port Harcourt section. And God bless each and every one of you. Once more, happy independence, great Nigerians and SP members. Happy independence to you all. So next on our agenda, I would like to invite our programs chair to give us the opening remarks. Over to you, programs chair.
Okay, thank you, Marianne, and good morning, everyone. I must also extend the Happy Independence Day to great Nigerians, and also to wish every one of us a happy new month. I must appreciate everyone that have joined in for this event this morning. Special thanks to our very distinguished section directors, who a few of them will play the role of special guests, by name Engineer Eta Agbo here present. We appreciate you, sir. Very warm thanks to our IPC, who has not left us alone. And he's also here as one of the discussants, roundtable discussants, Engineer Adebola Bada. We appreciate you and we welcome you. Madam Oyinye, our very own, and Madam Amina, all the way from Abuja section. We appreciate your coming in to share with us industry experience you've built over the years. So this team was carefully selected to meet the demand of our country, Nigeria. And I believe strongly that the discussants would do absolute justice to the theme. Nation building, of course, like we know, it's a continuous action. And it is not once in a while that a nation is being built. It's an all the time, all day thing. So I encourage all of us to give good attention to the roundtable discussion. You will agree with me that today Nigeria is in a population of above 200 million, and over 50% to 60% are young professionals. So this is a call to action on the road of young professionals in building our dear nation, Nigeria. But like we also know, the young professionals cannot really do this alone without the industry experts. And this is the bridge and the link I strongly believe that why we believe that the young professionals should be the one or to take that call to action of nation building. This can only be achieved in collaboration with industry experts. And this is important because industry experts bring to bear return on experience. Industry experts also bring some sort of mentoring and guidance. Industry experts also bring lots of motivation to the YPs. So I see this team to be carefully selected to meet the need and the demand of our dear country. For our participants, I would like to say that it is not enough for us to hear, but I think we have to also make up our minds to take action from what we'll be hearing from a very distinguished roundtable discussants. At this juncture, I want to welcome everyone. And before I forget, I want to send regards from our section chair, Dr. Joseph, who is unavoidably absent, but I know that he will get a debrief of this event. Thank you, and enjoy the roundtable discussion. Miriam, please, over to you. Hello.
Thank you very much, Programs Chairman. Thank you so much for a wonderful opening remarks. So next on the line, I will quickly introduce the special guest we have in our midst, though the Programs Chair has done justice to that already. So we have two of our section directors here. We have the person of Dr. George Iwo. We also have the person of Mr. Etta Abo. We also have our immediate past section chair, the person of Mr. Adebola Bada, who happens to be one of the panelists too. And we have Dr. George Iwo too, who is also one of our distinguished panelists. So we have on our midst too, Madam Onyinye Reginald, who is a senior member here with us, SP Port Harcourt section. She's one of our panelists too. We have Madam Amina Madami, who is the current section chair for an SP Abuja section. She's one of our distinguished panelists, and she's here with us. So we have our senior members too, and I can see a lot of our young professionals too. We have our deputy programs chair, the person of Madam Ngozi Okonkwo, and a lot of young professionals and senior members I can see. Thank you very much for joining us, and you're all welcome. So I'll move straight to the next agenda, which is the keynote address from our special guest. So we'll be taking a keynote address from Mr. Etta Abo, who will be putting a foundation to the panel discussions that will be taken after his keynote address. Thank you very much, Mr. Etta Abo, for joining us and accepting to give this keynote address despite the short notice. Thank you very much, and over to you. So I hand over this virtual podium to Mr. Etta Abo for his keynote address.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Okay. Okay, thank you. That means I've been unmuted. Happy Independence and welcome to this program. I want to say thank you to the team that put this together. It wouldn't have been any better than at this point in the annals of our history. I see a wonderful panel that has been selected, very, very culturally and technically and genderly, quote unquote, diverse. And I'm sure at the end of this program, they will do justice to the theme. Now, the key item or the key agenda for discussion today is the role young professionals have to play in nation building. Now, if we leave it at the table of young professionals, it looks as if every other person doesn't have a role. So I want to rephrase it a bit to capture it as the role I have to play in nation building. And why am I saying this? Because we have come to a point in our nation, we are at a critical crossroads where everybody needs to take personal responsibility to contribute to nation building. So if you look at our nation, you find out that if you do a similar search with other nations that were 61, at the time these nations were 61, how were they faring in terms of their educational sector, in terms of their agricultural sector, in terms of their industrialization, in terms of their technology prowess, how were they faring? You find out that if you do a benchmarking, you see that, yeah, this country, our nation, is actually still in a state of comatose. Excuse me, in a state of comatose. We really have not started. We are still marking time. As a matter of fact, we are not even sure if we are even ready to start as a nation. We are imbued with so much resources, both natural and human resources. We are imbued with so much diversity that other countries have been able to use and turn it around for their greatness. But in our own case, we've sat back and allowed these resources, diversity, all this natural greatness to sit on us. We're actually supposed to be on top of them, to guide, to show the way, and allow us to navigate a path towards nationhood and greatness. But in our own case, we've allowed this to sit on us. And the reason is simple, because we have not agreed to take part in the processes that brings about the selection of leaders of this country. And put simply, we've not been able to get ourselves involved in participatory democracy. So this is the only country where we sit back and all the smart guys, just like the array of smart people we have on this forum right now, all of us will sit back, pay our DSTV bills, pay our online bills, and sit back and run analysis on the processes that brings about the leaders that will lead this country for the next 4 years. We run this analysis online. And in most cases, expert analysis, good research, good data to back up our analysis, and we run it online. And the real process on ground that will bring about the selection of the leaders, we are not involved. We do not have voters' cards to start with. We do not have or belong to any political party. All we do is we sympathize online. And that's why it's a garbage in, garbage out situation. And that's why 2023 is around the corner. this process are being reshaped. The leadership of the country is going to be reshaped post-2023. We are not involved in any of this process. We just sit back and analyze online, and then post-2023, we sit back again and complain online till another 4 years. So if we're talking about our role, so I'm very confident to delve into this topic because I know I'm speaking to technical professionals who are doing excellently very well in their profession. In the oil and gas industry, the array of speakers and everybody that has joined here is doing excellently very well. For those who are young professionals, the SPE, and indeed all the companies that operate in the oil and gas industry have a succession plan, have a training plan, have a grooming plan to groom the next generation that will take over the industry and keep running it. And that's why you see the record progress we're making in the industry in terms of safety, in the drilling aspect, in completion, in reservoir simulation. You can go on and on. You see the excellent progress we're making. You can see that there's a constant, there's a deliberate attempt to transfer the technology from the international service providers to the Nigerian service providers, from the international oil companies to the Nigerian oil companies. As you can see, the space is constantly changing because there's a deliberate effort to do this. Put this vis-a-vis nation building, there is no deliberate effort. Now, this is not a blame game. This is a reassessment of ourselves. That's why I said we need to change it to my own role in nation building. So it's not a blame game, but it's a reassessment of ourselves. What do we do in our little corner? What do we do? Look at the team that put this program together. They worked assiduously day and night, calling up speakers, printing flyers, looking for the right time, ensuring that everybody is agreed on the right time to deliver a program like this. But when it comes to that of Nigeria, those who are saddled with the responsibility to do this will not take any time to do it. So it's shabby. And so therefore the results are non-existent. So how do we now transfer these excellent qualities, excellent technical leadership, excellent HSE leadership? How do we transfer it into nation building? I think that is the key point everybody needs to think about. That is the key point everybody needs to reflect. How do we transfer it into nation building? How will a Nigeria of our tomorrow be properly run such that we are bequeathing a legacy of excellence, a legacy of delivery to the generation that is coming beyond us or after us? That is the point I want everybody to reflect on today. And I believe firmly that strongly that it can be done. All we need to do is to step up in our own little corner and start being the change we want to see. And that change starts with us participating in the processes that brings about the leaders of our country. I think it's just a teaser because I know we have an excellent panelists, or we have excellent panelists that have been carefully selected to discuss on this topic. So I just want to leave you with that thought. I want us to reflect on it, how we can start, providing, bringing about the change in our little corner. And like I said, that change starts with us being interested in the processes that throw up the leaders of this country. Thank you very much, and I wish you all for a fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Etta Abo, for a wonderful keynote address. So just like I mentioned earlier, we needed to hear from him to give a foundation to this team, to the roundtable discussion that will be coming next after. So thank you very much, sir, for delivering such a wonderful keynote address. So while we had Mr. Etta Abo on the call, we had someone join us in the meeting in the person of Mr. Justice Derefaka. I am very, very surprised and happy to see you in SP Port Harcourt section meeting. I'm sure all the SP members of Port Harcourt section are excited as well. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Mr. Justice Derefaka is the technical assistant to the Minister on Gas Matters and Programs Manager too. Thank you very much for joining us, and we would also want to hear from you just after the roundtable discussion. We know you have a lot to say and to table on this subject. Thank you very much, sir. So next is the roundtable discussion. At this point of time, I would hand over to a host who would moderate the roundtable discussion for us. So I would hand over to the person of Ogo Ekwale. She's in the meeting here with us, and she would moderate this roundtable discussion for us. Thank you very much, Ms. Ogo, for joining us. Please take over the virtual podium.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I was just waiting for my mic to be unmuted. As she said, I'll be the host of this panel session. I'm very excited to be moderating this session, which is very important to all of us at this time. My name is Ogo Ekwale, and we'll just
Can you be a little bit audible? Can you be a bit audible?
Can you hear
please?
me? Can everyone hear me?
You're a bit faint. Just get closer to the mic so we can hear you much better.
Can you hear me now?
It's better now, I guess.
Is it better? I want another person to confirm if it's much better.
Yeah, I think it's better, but you can be more. So, yes.
Okay, can everybody hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now, loud and clear.
Excellent. Good morning, everyone. Once again, my name is Ogo Ekwale. I'll be moderating this session. I'm very happy to be part of this, noteworthy event by SPA. And we're going to dive really quick into the session. The session is just going to talk about the role of young professionals and also experts in nation building, and it's very critical for us to listen closely to the experts that will be sharing their experiences, and now not just from a professional point of view, but rather from a very personal, ethnic point of view, because Nigeria is dynamic, we're diverse, and nation building is not only for one person, it's for all of us to stand together and build Nigeria as a nation. There's so much happening at this time, but instead of us crying over spilled milk, our job is how do we create more milk? How do we foster in collaboration? How do we work as a people instead of independent, oh, I'm from this tribe, I'm from this tribe. And I'm sure most of us, a lot of us don't even know Nigeria. I'm sure the best we know Nigeria is states and capitals. And that doesn't allow us understand the need for our contribution to nation building. So I'm very happy for this session. So our session is going to be divided into 3 phases. We have one where the panelists will be introducing themselves. And the second one will be where questions will be asked to them. And the third will be questions from the participants. It's going to take 30 minutes. So we're going to start very quickly with the first part of it, the panelists introducing themselves individually and talking about where they're from and some important information we should know about their culture or ethnic tribe. And I'm going to start with Judge Iwo at this time. So Judge Iwo, please can you take the floor?
Good morning, everybody. I guess I can be heard. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes,
All right,
doctor,
thank
we
you.
can hear you.
Good morning, and I'm so excited to be part of this meeting. When I was called, as always, I'm always excited and I'm happy I am here. I am Engineer Dr. George Papamia Ewo, and I am a true indigene of Okrika clan, and Okrika is a subset of the Ejod kingdom. The Ejod man, as we all know, the first thing you think about as an Ejod man is fishing. We are deal with the fish, and if you can look at me very well, you will see my cap. And this is one thing that symbolizes an Ejod man. You will realize that when Goodluck Jonathan was the president, you'll always see him with his bowler hat. This is the symbol. I have to put it on specifically to tell you that I am proud of being an Ejod man, an Okrikan, And I'm here to showcase what we can offer as people, as well, most like, and also as a Nigerian, basically to let us know what we can do. I read mechanical engineering first degree, second degree, United Management, and of course, public administration as my doctorate. Today, I am blessed and I'm happy to be a director of SP Port Harcourt section, and I'm ready to share my wealth of experience whenever I'm given the time. I don't want to take much of your time, so I will stop there. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. George. I really appreciate that introduction. So next we'll go to Onyinye Reginald. Please, you have the floor.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I was knocked off. Please, could you let me know what you want me to do? I just got back.
Oh, okay, that's fine. We just want a brief introduction about yourself, most especially where you're from and your tribe.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you see me?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
Yo, you can. Okay, good. I was waiting for so I can show our proudly Isiago, which yes, I guess all of you know about the Isiago. So my name is Onyinye Reginald Ugwadu, and I'm a true daughter of the Igbo land. This morning I had to call my father actually to take permission to hang this. He's a high chief, so to take permission to hang this. It is the chiefs that wear this in Igbo land, so it represents who we are. Okay, so I am a well engineer by profession. I hold a BSc degree in mathematics and an MSc in drilling and well engineering, and also in supply chain and procurement. Married with 3 boys, and always proudly an Igbo person. I'm excited that we have an opportunity to discuss what we can do to make Nigeria, our nation, a better place for all of us and for posterity to come. So I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that colorful introduction. I hope at some point you will share some materials to us.
Yes, I will.
Great, thank you so much. So next we have for introduction is Adebola Bada for his introduction. Please, you have the floor right now.
Hello, okay, so can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Okay,
so my name is Adebola Bada, as you have tried to call in your second, you got it in the second attempt anyway. In the first attempt, I think you didn't do justice to that. So I'm from the Yoruba nation, which is the western part of Nigeria. And basically, we are known by the names. So if you tell me any Yoruba name, I can easily just tell you what is the circumstance around the birth of the person, and of course, where the person is coming from in the Yoruba nation. So it's quite very easy. So also I've tried to put on an address. So in the Yoruba nation, you can use any cloth, and they use dye to pattern them. And this one is patterned in green, white to represent the Nigerian colors. So happy independence to everyone. So basically, I had my degree, petroleum engineering from Uniport, and I had a master's degree from the Loughborough University in the UK. I also worked for Total. I think in the last 20 years, I've been in Total. It's called Total Energies now, to signify the kind of energy mix that the company's direction is going towards. I'm also a member of the Nigerian SP Nigerian Council and the immediate past section chair of Port Harcourt, SP Port Harcourt session. I'm really excited basically for this kind of topic. And I'm happy the direction in which the keynote speaker tried to set it, because it's also a bit of a sensitive discussion. So I will try as much as possible to do justice as I can. I remember what the keynote speaker says. He said we should try to address this as if it's us, it's you now. Don't say we or something. What will you do? Or what is your thinking towards the national development? At the end of the day, we want to see Nigeria go in the right direction. We want to make Nigeria great. In fact, we have no other country than this. So we have to do everything possible to make this country great. So thank you. I'm looking forward to this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that introduction. I can see that the panelists are ready for us technically and also with their ethnic diversity. So I'm sure we're going to have such a very interactive session. So we're going on to Amina Damadani. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Amina, you have the floor at this time.
Yes, okay, yeah. Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry I didn't wear my traditional attire for peace, actually, because my mother is Fulani, my father is Kanuri. Somehow we live in Azare, which is like Hausa, or some people call it Fulata Borno. So I didn't know which one to pick. So I just said, okay, let me just go with my usual and just put my veil. And I think the veil is representative of all the northern cultures across. So I don't have to wear any particular one. Well, like you said, you tried in the pronunciation, it's Amadami. I am from Bauchi State of Nigeria. That's the northern part of Nigeria. And I am so excited about this because we don't have any other country but Nigeria. And like I always tease my friend Ndidi, one of my very good friends from Mbano. I've been to Mbano several times. I always tell her that, see, Ndidi, the way things are going, we have to wake up and do something, because I don't want to cut tickets to go to Mbano. And then we laugh, and she has been to Azare, to my village. When we're in university, Ahmadu Bello University, during holidays, sometimes we go to Azare together in the north, and she will always tease us that, hey, I understand why people are always doing kuleo with this kind of hot sun and heat. You can fry egg on the road, though, because the coulter on the road is so, it's so hot that you can actually see it shining. And she always says, you can fry egg on this. So I am more excited than everyone. At least I can generally go to my Mbano in peace. I think that's enough of, and I think that is what this is all about. And I'm very happy about it. I went to Ahmadu Bello University and obtained a BEng in chemical engineering. And then I have a master's from Robert Gordon University in oil and gas engineering. I am about to finish up my second master. Well, I finished actually, it's just the final defense we're supposed to do on petroleum economics from University of Port Harcourt, but the IPELP campus in Abuja. And then I've started a program, a PhD program on chemical process and energy engineering. So in the North, I think we're very reserved people. So we really don't talk much. So I think, so we find it difficult to actually express ourselves and say this, because it goes against you. You're supposed to be humble, and you're supposed to value self-respect and all of that. So when you start talking, I am this, I am that, for the typical Hausa person, it doesn't sit very well. You're just supposed to be shy and humble and keep quiet, let your work speak for you. Shouldn't be, so I don't even know how to start saying anything now, but I mean, it's something I'm working on with people like Onyinye mentoring me and bringing me out of my shell. I mean, she has been very instrumental to what I have become, because normally I'll hide behind the curtain, I'll hide everywhere. And then we were put on a committee together with her on women leadership program.
Madam
Hey,
Amina,
I'm
I think
sorry,
you've
I'm
already
rattling
started.
up. I'm sorry. Thank
No,
you
it's
very
okay
much.
because you're
Happy
actually the
Independence,
first
everyone.
person. Yes, happy independence. Actually, the first person that will speak. But just to summarize the introduction, I think our panelists are really ready for us. I can feel the enthusiasm to tackle and break down these questions. And we're not just talking about questions, we're talking about solutions and workable things that we can start delivering on our daily, in our daily lives professionally as well. So I'm really excited that our panelists are ready to deliver. So Amina, you're definitely going first because you're already driving this session and you're first on the list. We have a general question for all the panelists to answer, and each panelist then has their individual questions that have been set for them to answer. So Amina, the first general question goes to you, and it goes, what is the unique thing about your geopolitical zone you represent, and what do you think can be done differently in their capacity to promote nation building? So now this is just talking about your geopolitical zone where you represent directly. Then we will now come into in-depth analysis of the other questions. So you have the floor first.
Okay, thank you very much again. Well, I come from the northeastern part of Nigeria, and it's a region based with abundantly blessed with rich and varied cultures. We have fertile lands, we have rivers, we have, well, a productive population, or a population that could be productive. And then we're highly politically conscious. We have high IQ, high EQ, and we're not very expressive people, but we're very generous and accommodating, and but very reserved by culture. And we value our culture seriously, as in being humble, preserving your self-respect and all of that. But when you're talking about productivity and you're talking about intelligence and education and all of that, we have to look at it from, multi-perspectives, multi-criteria. For example, once you talk about education, what first comes to your mind is somebody who can speak English. But we have a lot of people in the North who are highly, highly educated. I mean, these are people who from the age of 10 have memorized, for the Northern, for the Muslim families I'm talking about now, because that's the one I know. But we have a lot of Christian families in the North, by the way. So for the Muslim families now that I'm using as case study, by the age of 10 or 11, a child has already memorized the Holy Quran, which is in Arabic. I mean, it is no mean feat to do that. It contains like how many pages, thousands of pages and all of that. And by 10, 11, a child has memorized it. But if you bring that child to an exam and set an exam for him in English, he has not studied English, he doesn't know anything. So he will come across as somebody who is very unintelligent or anything. So I think we can capitalize on that, but maybe like there's a video that is trending now in social media talking about why should we be asked to speak in English. I mean, we accommodate other countries, like from the West. If a Russian comes, he doesn't speak English, it's fine. You listen to what he has to say. So I think we should concentrate more on the content instead of, the language of delivery or something. And that's why when you go to UN conferences or conventions or international, you have translators. So, I mean, we should start to look at all these things and not just stereotype and say, okay, because these people cannot speak English, so they cannot be intelligent or something. So I think we have that to contribute to nation building. Thank you very much.
That's at least new knowledge to me. Like a child at age of 10 has memorized the whole Quran. So I
some
think
even younger. Actually, I just gave you an average.
That's some unique attributes that we'll zero in on it, as we continue to have this conversation going forward. So the next person who will take the floor is Judge Iwo. I would like to repeat the question again. what is unique about the geopolitical zone you represent today, and what do you think they can do differently in their capacity to promote nation building?
Once again, the pleasure is mine. I appreciate this opportunity. And
you have 3 minutes for this.
Okay, the place I represent is where we all are presently. You will realize, like I started when I started, that the South-South is by mass, by land mass, the smallest in the 6 geopolitical zones we have in Nigeria. But the South-South is the brain behind the economic development of this country. Today, we all depend on what we are all driving at, the oil and gas, and is more predominant in the South-South. And that's something that has actually developed this country beyond bounds. And we have been very hospitable to be able to make sure that the nation growth depends and enjoy the benefits of that resources that comes from the South-South. Now, one thing I know that is very peculiar to the South-South people is their degree of hospitality. The South man is always very hospitable to anybody that comes around. And that's why we are multi-nation-like. Whoever comes in, find peace. And we try to do that until we are being choked on the neck to begin to say, no, we can't handle it again. So South-South, as we all know, is the brain box to the nation's GDP for now. We all know that. And we are still really happy to be doing that. It's just that we feel a little bit marginalized when we are not well taken care of. And that's when we have been choked by the neck. We start shouting like we are shouting now in PIB and we are shouting now in derivation and all. So the South-South man, who is the job man, who basically deals on fishing, is now beginning to realize that he has better things that he could enjoy upon, which is now being taken away to other places and not given the right royalty. We are developing enough and we're still doing it with the degree of our hospitality. And all we say is that that's hospitality that we're giving with the resources abundant in our region should be given the due respect in terms of the royalty so that we'll be able to stand and appreciate the fact that we are duly blessed. For now, that's all I can say. And everybody on this forum do know that the South-South, Nigeria, presently might not be what it is without the South-South. Thank you for the opportunity again.
Thank you, Giorgio. I really appreciate that insight. So you're saying South-South hospitality, and of course, we have been contributing almost 80% to the Nigerian GDP. So
that's
we need
correct.
to take a very unique position when it comes to nation building, and everybody kind of needs to listen to us to say this is where Nigeria should go. So thank you, Giorgio. Well, the next person we'll have is Onyinye Reginald. Please, you have the floor. I would like to repeat the question, or you're fine with the question?
Please repeat. Go ahead and repeat.
Please, thank you. Okay, what is unique about the geopolitical zone you represent today, and what do you think they can do differently in their capacity to promote nation building?
Okay, thanks. Once again, I represent the Igbos, and primarily the Igbos are made up of the states, the Anambra State, Abia, Imo, Ebonyi, Enugu. These are the major states. However, you go to Delta State, you go to River State, you would find about 25% of the population there are also Igbo speaking, and also our culture also permeates places like the Cross River, Akwa Ibom, and Bayelsa in some elements as well. So it's important to state that. What is peculiar, what is unique about us? And this is very exciting question for me because I have been doing some work around entrepreneurship, and I have been studying the apprenticeship system that the Igbos have. That is something that is very unique about the Igbos. And very well right now, a lot of business schools are studying that system to really understand how to transform it for nation building, for world economy. Now, what is the apprenticeship system? I would like to use I would be uncomfortable to speak all English without using our language. We call it one boy, right? Where someone goes to learn under a master. Basically, it is informal, no written agreement. You go and serve for some years, it could be 5 years, it could be less, it could be up to 7 years. Then when you have learned that trade, you are then, given some freedom, it's what you call freedom, with a venture capital, seed capital. Now, listen very well that I am bringing the commercial terms, which is which we know today. So in this apprenticeship system, which I think is very fundamental to nation building, you have those people that are under apprenticeship, learning supply chain and procurement very well, understanding law of demand and supply, learning forecasting. They know what it is, understanding the fiscal regime without really going to school. So what can we do differently? And of course, they don't learn the theoretical, they learn the practical aspects of everything, the nuts and bolts. How do you turn it? In the schools, you do the theoretical, but these people, don't just use the cognitive domain, which is used in the schools. They use the psychomotive domain, where they understand how to use their hands to do the things that will really bring food on the table. Now, peculiar to this is the community, the sense of community that the Igbo people have, because we have what we call Onyagala, don't leave the next person. So the apprenticeship system is a pyramid system that is like a network system where you bring people, you train them, then they train the next person, and spreading the wealth all over. So what can we do differently? It is about the industry experts in our communities beginning to understand that internship can be transformed to infuse some level of apprenticeship and some spirit of that, where there will be documented theories, documented practices, how these things are done, such that we can begin to harness our trade schools, like the government technical schools. We can begin to, train people properly and give them venture capital, through this system, but really, really have a structure around it, where people can begin then to bring others into that system without doing just sole proprietor Okonkwo and Sons or whatever we will call it, but building it into enterprises. I think that is what we can do differently going forward. But the elements of nation building are in that unique thing that we hold in Igbo land as our apprenticeship system.
Okay, thank you so much. I think all the governors in the issue gather you for a forum so that you can spill what you have just dished out to us on this session. Thank you so much. Of course, we are very aware of the apprenticeship system. We call One Boy. I don't know where the name One Boy generated from, but we know the system and we know it works. Over years, we could see it, transcend through generations, and you have really pointed out that this can really help in nation building, especially when it comes to the economic part of the nation. Thank you so much. So we have Adebola here to answer the general question. I don't know if you will permit me to read it out again to you, or you're fine with the question.
Yeah, please read it out, because I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so the general question is, what is unique about the geopolitical zone you represent today? And what do you think they can do differently in their capacity to promote nation building?
Okay, though, I've listened to the other panelists. I represent the Yoruba nation, I've said earlier on. And I've lived in the Southeast, honestly, like half of my years on Earth, in fact. I've lived in many places also abroad. So I can rightly say that just half of my years on Earth here I've lived in the West. I was born and bred up there. So when I talk, I try to tap from all experiences that I've. I think one significant thing, I think the president said this in one of his address. He was saying that he would really want Nigeria to, because of this diversity that we have. It's just too much. Like there's no nation that will have this kind of diversity from the North, from the West, and from the East. Okay, and when I look thoroughly into all these things, I look at the West, for example, and you can look at how passionate that they are in terms of education. I see in my own town, and I see many houses in my town, there's no way you are not going to find someone that has that is a professor in each house. Okay, the list is like they're having a master's. That's a list. And then you see their parents actually contributing to this. You will be so amazed. The man is still the man and the wife, they are still very humble. They don't have flashy things. They're just just a simple family, and they have invested so much in their children, and you can see them in diverse places of the world. And then they still come back and still continue to help people at the very local settings for them also to progress. I think one unique thing we also need to imbibe is the investments in our human resources, which is very, very key. Yorubas really believe in that. They do everything possible for the children to be highly, when I say highly educated. And I think that is also one of the cardinal pillars that the country needs. So we need adequate and strong human resources, and that can take charge, of course, of our infrastructure, of course, of our resources that is so abundant. Secondly, you also know about the cooperative system where in the olden days, and it's still being practiced, where you come with your own resources, the other party comes with their own resources, they put it together as a community and use it to sponsor. Sometimes they use to sponsor some of the children, sometimes they use to sponsor some of the trade, especially for the trade. So they have a cooperative system. And I've seen now that the cooperative system is really developing. So you can actually borrow some fund, invest in your farm and something like that. We can take this to a very higher level where we can harness all our resources together and use it to sponsor something great for the nation. So I was looking at, in 1925, I was looking at one advert that the UK put on. Okay, I will just read it. UK say, Nigeria, our youngest colony. That was in 1925. And they put in palm oil, cotton, timber, granules, coal. We all know where all this is coming from. Palm oil from the west, cotton, I think, from the north, timber, I think, from the whatever in Nigeria, granite, I think, from the north, coal from the southeast, rubber, I think, mostly from Edo State or something like that, palm kernel and palm oil, mostly, I think, from the west, cocoa, I think, from the west, tin, I think, is from the Jos. Right, hides and skin from the north, gold in many places in Nigeria. And with the population in Nigeria in 1925 was 18 million. Now we are about 200 million, whatever. So that means we have also grown astronomically. So number one thing is that we should try as much as possible to revive back all this agricultural produce. Where are they today? Everybody, we still have these resources, it's still there. So my own point of view is that especially talking from my own area, I think every time what has happened to us, we still have the land, we still have this agricultural produce. Where's the problem like? Is it that we are so dependent on the oil, and then is it the cost of the nation or something like that? But my own take at the end of the day is that if we still come back to the and go back to the basics, I think the country will be great for it. That I'm sure. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Adebola. I really like the insight. Clearly, I could even see comments from the participants saying that, yes, the Yorubas are really passionate about education, and it's well known, you know, and how you can invest in human resource. And clearly, speaking to all the panelists and the unique attributes every geopolitical zone brings to the table, we can see that everybody doesn't have everything, but everybody putting everything together, we can all share in everything. So thank you so much for that. And we're going to just go right into the individual questions. This will take about 2 minutes to answer. Amina, you're up. We're going with you first. And the first question to you is, what can you describe as the biggest challenge in our nation building currently? We have 2 minutes for that. What can you describe as the biggest challenge in our nation's building currently?
Okay. I think the biggest challenge right now we have in our nation building, thank you for that question, by the way, is I think a mutual mistrust, I would say, because whatever policy or whatever comes up, everyone will, you know, there's this mutual mistrust that is, you know, across all the divide in this country. And I think that is one of the major problems that is hindering our national development. Because of that mistrust, we cannot come together, to cooperate and bring, globally now, everyone is talking about diversity and inclusion, there's progress and productivity in diversity because everybody brings something to the table. Okay, like for example, this morning, we have our senior, Mrs. Trudy Koka, she's on the call. Thank you, Ma, for coming. She's a retiree from Shell. She's a petroleum geologist. And she put up a question on our platform. We went to the same secondary school with her. She was way my senior, of course. So she said Nigeria will be 61 by October 1st, and retirement age is 60. Can we retire Nigeria and start afresh? Please, what do you think? I think this is very crucial for this discussion. And I think it's time we retired Nigeria as we knew it before and start afresh on a very solid footing of trust. Because every other thing that is a problem in Nigeria is a result of this mistrust. When a policy is brought up, nobody will work on it. If any, because this one is saying it's because it is this one, so we need to really get over that mutual mistrust before we can because every section, like we've heard from all the speakers, everybody has something to bring. The North, we have vast land and we have agriculture. We had those granite pyramids, that you can equate to those pyramids in Egypt. We have cotton. We had so many textile factories in the North that have all gone, under now. With oil from the from south, you can run your factories there because you get your lubes and those lower ended products to be able to run your product, so everybody needs everybody. We get rubber and cocoa from the south, but we all have to work together to achieve that. And one thing that we need to be able to work together is trust. We have to have mutual trust and mutual respect for it. So me, in my opinion, that is the major problem that is bringing about that has brought us to where we are as a nation right now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Amina. She's focusing her challenge on trust, no mutual trust at this time. So we're going to go to George. George, you have the next question. What do you think is the current strength of Nigeria as a country? And how can industry professionals, young and also experts, leverage on it to foster nation building?
Thank you once more. 2 minutes is not enough actually to describe this.
I understand that.
Yeah, I hope you understand that. So I don't want to look at just one factor as the strength of the nation, but I need to look at it from different perspectives. I've considered different things, and I feel like we should look at it from that sense of sight as well. First of all, let's take a look at our population. Now, some school of thought say Nigerian population is over 212 million, some say 206. But in whole, we can say that nobody says we're below 200. So let's Nigerian population is over 200 million. What about our economic status? Nigeria is a middle income mixed economic nation with emerging markets because of how versatile we are with our multi-ethnic and multi-religious culture that we have. That notwithstanding, Nigeria presently it's 27th largest economy in terms of nominal GDP, and it's the 24th in terms of purchasing power because of our population. So we're actually strength, our population is a strength to us, a big strength, and we can actually use that to do a lot of things, just like China is doing. But are we using it well is the problem. Now let's take a look at our manpower. Presently, it is on record that about 223,000 persons are being recorded as armed forces that are registered and active in our country. Having known that, are those people, that number enough to actually take care of 200 million persons in terms of fight security and in terms of quelling any kind of insecurity, it's a question that is bound for us to answer. Take a look at our unemployment. Presently, it's on record that the youth's unemployment is over 53%. 53% is quite a huge one. So it means that we have a lot of youths roaming around the street that are able to employ but are not employed. If that happens, what happens to the future? That implies that a lot of our youths are unemployed and they are the future leaders that we look up to. So there is a problem there. Now, take a look at technology, which is the new trend of things in life. Nigerians presently is at a very low ebb in terms of Internet of Things. We are not doing so well, even if we have the knowledge from so many other persons, but because of the economy, because of the policies, because of the things that are the political will of the government, it's not very versatile in terms of our growth in technology with IoT. So also it is with AI. The world is moving towards IoT and AI so much, but we are not doing so well in it. Now come back home where we are, the oil and gas industry. The youths are not even well beneficiary of the oil and gas industry. So it means that the employment status of making sure that our youths become very, very versatile as become future leaders of tomorrow is a concern that we must all look up to. So while I look at the strength of our population and look at our marketing and emerging marketing strategies and knowing that, yes, we are actually able to use this to be able to our next better thing, we also need to look at the negative parts, which might cause deterrent to the progress of these things. Now, having said that, because of time, I want to rush into saying, how will the YPs or experts or you and me leverage on the things that are actually positive in order to make sure that we move ahead? I want to take particular interest in the youths. The youths are the nation's strength. And in all ramifications, when the youths are there, you will have to see some kind of versatility. And then you have to have strength, and you have love, and you have some kind of things that makes some kind of energetic aspirations in the things of life. This program we're handling today, if you look at who is actually anchoring this, is the youth. And in several countries now, the youths are better looked at as leaders to take ministerial positions, and you will see that things begin to skyrocket for good. So the youth actually needed to be empowered in order for them to be able to take up that role and do the rightful thing they need to do. But while that is being something that we must consider, do we actually give that to any youth? Do we actually give that to any person we look at as one that is a graduate? The answer is no. So as youth, I know that, yes, the urge for us to be able to lead, to be able to ensure that we bring forth the future development of our nation to power, we also need to ensure that we have ourselves disciplined. And one thing I always like to advise the youth for them to leverage on this leadership is for them to have their personal sacrifices, which should be much more greater than their selfishness. So they should not be being selfish and having greed does not help us. We have to be good ambassadors in wherever we find ourselves as youth. When we do that, we'll be able to ensure that our sacrifices would outweigh our selfishness and the greed. And that speaks better for us. We'll begin to look at us as one that could be reliable and one that could lead and become better leaders. That notwithstanding, as youth, it's expected that irrespective of the high degree of unemployment, we strive to ensure where we build ourselves. There is the need for self-development in anywhere we find ourselves. Following your passion, following your desire, following your discipline and your interest. Now, this self-development could come in diverse means. It could be physical, it could be virtual, it could be through technology. It is essential that no youth stays idle, but we have to discipline and ensure we develop ourselves just to meet up with the expectation of life and for the expected growth. What about in terms of job and unemployment? We know that that is a real way for you to even get employed. A few days ago, I was discussing with a young lady that was telling me of how many years, she finished her youth corps about 3 years ago, and she's been looking for jobs and with several interviews, but no job. I said, one disadvantage you have is that you only have your degree, but there has not been any added advantage in terms of self-motivation with self-development in you. And with that, you do not stand a chance of being marketable. So you need to develop yourself so that when the jobs come, you are fit for it. You become a round peg in a round hole. What about participating in governance and policy formulation? Today, Nigeria is now being into real politics. And this polity is about governance. Now, the youth need to get themselves involved actually in participating into governance and policy formulation. Now, by so doing, you now know the laws of the land, you now know how to modulate it, you know how to ensure, how to make sure that the implementation is right for the people, and then you get the best out of it. I expect that the youth get themselves much more involved in governance processes and policy formulation. And last, I also want to say that the youth, and even you and me, just like the guest speaker spoke, you and me, we should always strive to ensure unhealthy practices. You see, it has become almost a norm in Nigeria that anybody that finds himself in a position of well-to-do only goes about making sure how he or she will enrich him or herself, forgetting the practices that he or she had actually vowed to do. And this is killing the nation. So we need to see that, irrespective of the fact that we are actually not getting what we want, we have to obey the right rule of law. We need to ensure unhealthy practices and do the things that are right and ensure that we endure for the right time to come. Endurance might be dangerous sometimes, but I bet you that at the long run, the betterment is much more beneficial than the fast run that you want to get. Lastly, I want to use this period to advise all of us, not just the youth, that we should always rise up whenever we fall. There are times you have obstacles. There are times that you have things that will make you want to deter because of the problems you face, the difficulties, the challenges. But you know, all these are part of life. When you fall, you must rise again. For as many times you fall, you must rise again. And continuously you rise, you will get to the peak. And there are stories of and testimonies of people that have lived in that perspective and have come out much more gloriously. Besides, I bet you, when you decide to give up, you are a failure. When you refuse to give up and always pursue your dream, you will be victorious at the long run. This is my advice to the youth and everybody, and I expect that it will help us to be able to have a better nation building, even as we go in our nascent democracy. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, George. You have taken us literally 360 around the whole issues that we are addressing today. Thank you so much for that insight. And of course, at the end of this session, we'll just do a quick summary of everything that the panelists has spoken about at this time. So we have Onye for the next question. And the next question for her is, looking at family as the smallest unit of the country, do you think that there are values and stereotypes that are inherent in upbringing that are barriers in promoting unity and patriotism in Nigeria? But looking at the family here, the focus of family, do you think that the family have a significant role to play in nation building? And what are those stereotypes that, you know, inhibits nation building?
Thank you very much for that question. I think this question, so I know we're talking about all of us, but I'm going to tilt a bit, and anyone that knows me will know that I have some passion around women. I'm going to tilt a bit about stereotypes around women. And Kofi Annan said, to educate girls is to reduce poverty. And I'm connecting what I'm going to say to what even the whole world wants. We want to reduce poverty. We want to have everyone to have access to education, because those are the things, reduce inequality as well. And those are the things that can help in nation building, that can sustain us. Again, Michelle Obama says, when women are educated, their countries become stronger and more prosperous. So if we're talking about nation building, we're talking about becoming stronger, becoming prosperous. Now, and when I talk about education, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about just access to formal education. I'm talking about those stereotypes at home where we are nurtured as women to think that we don't have a voice at the table, to think that we don't have a seat at the table in the family meetings, to think that it's only when whatever the rest of our brothers decide that goes on. And then we carry, remember, women are the most mobile human beings on earth. And what do I mean by most mobile? A woman is married today, from the East is married to a man from the North. And she carries the culture, the belief system, everything to go there. If that woman is aware, if she's educated well enough, if she's taught to have a voice, she will go there and she will teach the culture of the people. She's not teaching that culture to change the culture of the, but to make them aware, such as to help the people to understand who they are, that particular place she's coming from, perhaps the East, so that they can understand themselves better, so that you can appreciate the diversity, in our nation. And that can then tie into what Amina has said about mutual mistrust. So the areas of mistrust will begin to, go down. Then that is one. So if we begin to, number one, create forums or avenues or behave or role model the right behaviors where when decisions are being taken in our homes, right, we see our mothers part of that decision, and not where we will sit back and say, and let's your daddy and the brothers, and when they decide, let's just wait, they are coming from the meeting, and whatever it is, the woman passes on to the children. The children are watching. The girl child is watching. And when she goes to that other community where she's married, it doesn't matter how many master's degree, how many PhD she holds, all she knows is that it is the men that will take decision about how this community will be, right? So she can only stay in the bedroom, oh, my husband, things are going wrong, what do you do? But she can actually come out to call the women to say, no, things are going wrong, what do we do? That is what nation building is. So women are agents of peace. Women are agents of unity. Women are agents of prosperity. And so that stereotype about the girl child do not have a voice, the girl child should be seen, not heard, is a stereotype that is killing the nation. And that is a stereotype that is making us not harness 50% of the talent we have in the nation today. So my call here for industry experts, for young professionals, whether you are a man, whether you are a female, please, as a female, if decisions are being taken at home and you have an idea, please, I crave your indulgence, speak up. If you're a man, if decisions are being taken, call your sister to say, what is your opinion, right? If you're a man, an industry expert in the office, if decisions are being taken in your office, ask that tea girl, ask that secretary. If the only female you have in the office is a secretary and not an engineer or something, call her. Oh, this is what is happening. Do you have an opinion? Let us begin to reorientate ourselves from the stereotypes that we grew up with, such that we can begin to then transcend and hand over to the next generation of women and men, what role modeling right behaviors are, so that our men also will know that, oh, their sisters are as valuable as they are in thinking, in cognitive thinking, in emotional intelligence and everything. I think if we begin to shape these discussions around really the root problems of where we are and what we're doing, then we'll begin to make progress. So that education is just beyond the formal education, is the informal education that tends to shift face from when a woman speaks to say, well, it doesn't matter, it's a woman, right? Or when a woman is driving on the road, oh, she didn't do it well because she's a woman. So let us begin to change that perception every time and every day. And when we do that, we'll begin to see the diversity come up, and we begin to challenge these women to say, you are going to Delta State to marry. Go there and preach the good news that we are good people. You are going to River State to get married. Go there and preach the good news by your character, by the changes you bring in the community, by the peace you bring, by the things you say, by how you behave, to say that we are a nation that is bound by unity, that is bound by progress. And before you know it, you will see what will happen. I'll give you an example. Miriam Babangida is from Asaba, right? Married to Babangida. During her time, in fact, when I read about her, I cast my mind, I said, did she know about the United Nations Development Goals? Because she started rural development for a better life for rural women. And in that, there were there were cottage hospitals, cottage industries built because there were cooperatives that were, women came together to do cooperatives. So women were empowered, small scale businesses, shops and markets, all those things sprung up, farms, gardens, and that will reduce poverty. Really, if we can go back to such things, and that is empowering women, letting them know that you have the faculty to do just as well as you should to contribute to the GDP of the nation. I think that is where I'd like to pitch, the stereotype that is entrenched in almost all traditional families. I'll use the word traditional families. A lot of families are coming out of it, and we're very happy, especially most of the people sitting here in the room, do not see, yes, they train their children abroad and the rest of them, but I think that we should look deep beyond, the formal education and think about how we role model those behaviors at home for our young ladies to emulate. So yes, that is what I would say.
Thank you so much. Clearly, our panelists are so passionate. 2 minutes is not enough, and I can't, cut them off because whatever they are telling us right now is coming from the depth of their hearts and their soul, and they really want things to move forward. We just have to manage our time at this moment. I wish we have more time, to deliberate, because we still have some questions for them. The last round of questions will be coming up very soon. So Adebola, you have the next question. You have the floor, and your question goes: which country is making the greatest advancement in nation building, and what are they doing differently? Would you recommend them as role models for Nigeria? Now, I give the floor to you.
Thank you so much for that question. Nigeria, my Nigeria. Okay. I have certain countries that I've stayed before and still going regularly. But if we look at the G8 itself, we have so many countries to model from. But I'm still thinking if it's modeling that's the problem of Nigeria. I will just quickly quote, I try to read some of the things the president of Nigeria says in most of these October 1st in years. And one of them says that the greatest issue they have is for Nigeria actually to stay together, like to put in all those our diversity in action. I will cite UK. I know a lot about their systems. Firstly, I think what UK does is that they provide an enabling environment. That is just one thing. So in terms of policies, in terms of infrastructure. So it's not as if you're going to get a lot of money, that you're going to have a lot of money. You can check the number of billionaires they have in the UK. It's like drastically reduced than other countries. But you can be sure that your mortality will be so high. And let's look at the mortality in Nigeria. Mortality rate is about, in fact, less than 60 years. That's it. So it means we are totally stressed in this country. But what can we do differently to ensure that we are molded against most of these G8? So I'll give you one example before I return to UK. I worked briefly in Thailand for about 2 years for my company. And there's one thing that strikes me. Number one, I was mentioning about being humble the other time. Exactly like that I had in Thailand. The Thais are extremely humble people, but they have a very great vision by their former king, and I think it's the son of the former king that is still there now, though they still run a parallel, they're just modeling like the UK. They have the kingship, kingship or the queenship, whatever, that they still adore, seriously adore, and then they still have the political system, So, and I saw most of my friends that were working together, and once in a while they would say, let me take you to my farm. Did you know there's a vision in that country? If you have interest to do anything, especially agriculture, if you check the rice that they produce sent to Nigeria everywhere is from Thailand. So you have a parallel land for yourself. The government is going to give you the land for free. You just tell them if you want to do goatry or you want to be doing poultry, whatever, but it's compulsory. You have to have a passion. Some people flowers, just flowers. The government is going to provide the money. You are going to do the operations, and then there's a set price for all those produce. Then the government is going to help you to sell it in a controlled way. So even though they are working for the oil industry, honestly, they just come to work. They are not really killing themselves. They just do their normal work. But all the interest is going back to that, their farm, to see it grow. So they have like an everlasting kind of thinking that I have something that I'm passionate about. So we need to get back to something that also we're passionate about, even though we need to have to get some money from all these companies that we're working for, which is fine. So that's number one. We need some strong policies, and then we need great infrastructures to support this. I will not give too many examples. I'm very sure you know most of these policies. The second thing is about curriculum in our educational system. In the UK, okay, Nigeria is modeled like that before, and then we changed. Before you go to class 1 to 5, after that you do A levels. My senior brother did A levels. During my own time, they scrapped the A levels again, blah, blah, blah. We started doing class 1 to class 5. Then Babangida also came and they structured it back to the UK system, GSS 1 to 3, SS 1 to 3. Then they still removed the A level system. So now you find unprepared people that are graduates, to be sincere with you. Very unprepared, because they are not trained on anything about craftsmanship in school. They are not trained on anything entrepreneurship. In fact, even in the university system, they have never worked during. But in the UK, you are given 8 hours per week to work officially, and then you will get work easily. Okay, I don't know if they will be working in Nigeria for such people, but you will get work easily. So they are trained in entrepreneurship, they are trained in leadership skills, they are trained in business, in investment. When they graduate, they are ready with the ideas. They are not struggling to look for jobs. The ideas is just there. And then it comes to the funding side. The government have a serious funding system. If you have an idea, you come, they are starting with $50,000. That is it. It's in the internet, you can check it. So, and they're going to monitor this for over 5 years. So if you continue to do well, then they will leave you to continue to sustain it. That's kind of people that are going to employ the locals again. This is where they are generating their employment from. It's not really, what's the employment rate of the oil industry in Nigeria? Do you know? You need to check. It's insignificant. Very insignificant. So everybody cannot get employment there. It is just natural. It's not as if they cannot do more than that. So we should try as much as possible to get back to those systems where we would be generating our own employment in our local areas. And this is very key. When someone leaves primary 6 or GSS 3, maybe they want to start, I don't know, doing fashion designer. They don't want to go to school. It's not by force. Everybody don't want to get a degree. So in the UK, they have a parallel NVQ system. So where you go, you don't have to do that. If you want to do your GCSE, it's fine. You don't have to do A levels. You don't go to school. But in that apprentice system, they have it running with whatever you are doing. They put you in a very good factory or company, whatever, of that your passion, what you want to become. It can even be a shoemaker. But they are going to put in a very standard place where you can learn that. And after, they're going to give you funding after you finish. And then you see factories everywhere in the UK, employment everywhere in the UK. Today, they don't even have a truck driver. That's why you can see in the UK, they are having a problem of truck driver, because it's not part of what they think about, like to become a truck driver. It's for them to build factories, people coming with great ideas, people coming with serious ideas, and they're going to fund. And then they realize now that, oh, it's from other companies, countries that we are getting truck driver. So they're issuing out visa for whatever company, just come and coming to be driving vehicles for them. But in Nigeria, have so many human resources. Are we putting those human resources to question? Are we saying they have not done well for themselves? Is it the curriculum that is the issue? What can we do differently, like all these nations, to ensure people are prepared, already prepared when they finish school? So we need to go, we have to model things like this. Another area is the funding and support, even though I've talked about it a lot. I think the vision or the policies around this have to also be strong. So in the UK, if you want to do business, for example, want to do business, it's the same thing, mechanism. You just want to do business. This is my business plan. So I've not seen that going on. The last time Section 103 is doing this, to say, okay, bring your business plan and so on. This is very serious in the UK. You read your business plan, they help you, in as much as your passions want to do, they help you streamline it, over how many years, this is a loan, how long are you going to pay? And they will monitor your business plan and your system until that business succeeds. So there are mentors, especially for this in one of the ministries, trade and I think investment and something like that. Do we have this kind of system? Are they there or they are not active or something like that? So for nation building, naturally, we need two areas, the government side and also our own side. So it's two areas that should balance, from the government policies, support, and so on, and from the people to also to be active. So it's not, you cannot, if the policies are strong, you cannot be lazy. You have to go somewhere, you have to do something for your life and support the nation building. And finally, also regarding growing talents, we are not doing enough to grow talents in this country. We have so many talents everywhere, but no support. So also in the UK system, they have a kind of, if you want whatever talent that you have, they see it already, maybe from your primary school or from the early parts of your secondary school. They see it and they take you to those institutes where you can grow those talents. At the same time, they ensure your education is still standard. So it's not as if you are pursuing, that's why we have so many illiterates in the country, because even though they have a passion of what they want to do, but they don't have money to go to school. So what is happening to our public schools? In the UK, public school is the main thing. You have to go to school. If they see you with your kid, if they see your kid not going to school, because it's free, you're going to be arrested. But we have taken for granted in this country. People don't just go to school. Public school are not even there. Okay, private school are expensive. I don't even know what they are teaching. Honestly, it's expensive, but they have to run their school anyway because we have allowed the private schools to take over the public schools, and it's happening now in the universities. Just take note, it's happening again in the universities. Now the private schools, the private universities are shadowing the public schools. I think the core message here is on both sides of the government and from the citizens. We need to compensate ourselves, but we need strong policies. We need strong government support. Because no matter the great ideas you have, if you don't have funding, no matter the great ideas you have, if there are no infrastructures to support it, we are not going anywhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Adebola, for that in-depth analysis, using Thailand and UK as case studies, for countries that we can model. Clearly, we have everything that we need to move this nation going forward. I talked about the apprenticeship, model that the UK uses. Clearly, Onye also spoke with so much passion about that. So we already have what we need to move forward. And the problem is, why are we not taking the bold step to do what we need to do consistently over a long period of time? So we have the last round of questions, and George is going to go first on this one. So George, this question is for you. Do you think industry experts can leverage on their organization leadership and expertise to make a difference in Nigerian politics? Now we're talking about real politics. How does your leadership, in your industry affect, politics, real politics of nation building? Please.
Right. Thank you. Thank you again for that question. The simple answer to this is yes. Industry experts, young professionals can actually leverage on the organization's leadership. Why do I say so? As you and I know, most of us work with multinationals. Some of the one-man company that are oil servicing that comes up with a lean way from also the E&P companies. So these multinationals have their own national companies from where they come from. And these countries where they come from are actually regarded, most of them regarded as first world countries. Some of them fall within the G8 that we all respect. So they have a system that works. They have a system that they have built that works, that makes these companies be able to establish in their country and go further to foreign countries like Nigeria to come and exploit. And we work for them. And that's kind of leadership they employ even in the organizations. So yes, if we employ that, it will work. just like last speaker spoke. These are the things that we need to take home and ensure that, yes, it works, because these are good things that we're emulating. However, some of these companies also find it difficult to strive because of the policies that are emanated from this country. They try to stifle them. Some of them are even folding away. Some of them have run away already because of the policies we are bringing in. But because we fail to realize where our mistakes are and be able to employ the necessary dimensions for our country to grow while emulating the best from others. So the answer actually is yes. But how do we go about that? I am a passionate person about leadership. And most times when I talk about leadership, I always refer to the transformational leadership scheme. And that's what I talk about most times. And I think that is the best for everybody. We should forget about the other kinds of leadership and begin to start employing the transformational leadership. What do I mean by that? A transformational leader is one who takes into cognizance of his followers, that always meets to identify the needed changes with his followers. And then he creates that kind of vision to guide that change to come to pass, because those changes are what makes the followers happy and make him happy as a leader. So as a transformational leader, you use that great 4I, I call them the 4I, to be able to ensure that you come out. What is the 4I? As a leader, you need to get that kind of innovation. You don't just jump being a leader or taking over that leadership. You have to have that innovation of creativity. You don't just say because you want to be a leader because you have gone to school, but you have to have that personal inbuilt innovations in you. The second I call is inspiration. Are you inspired? Do you actually have that inspiration to become that leader that you want to be? So that inspiration is something I also call that a great leader that should want to be, or someone that wants to be a great leader, using the transformational leadership should also imbibe. And then the third one I call the individualized consideration, because there are a lot of leaders that do things based on their selfish interest, not taking into cognizance of the different persons that they lead. It is happening presently in Nigeria. So you see that people are marginalized, others are being favored, and that's not it. But when you give individualized consideration to as many persons that you lead, you have the mind and the love of those that follows you, and you'll find the leadership much more pleasant. And lastly, I also talk about the intellectual stipulation. You know, you have to be innovative yet creative, but you need to be intelligent as well to ensure that you move with the speed of the regime and, of course, the world, the change that is happening in the globe. If you don't have that intellectualism, you might not be able to get it well. I call this the 4 I's. So for a transformational leader that I want everybody to be, you will be able to ensure that they have a substantial impact on the followers, and that creates that best of leadership for them to take up. So not just taking imbibe the leadership from the organizational expert, but also to take these 4 I's along. No, as a leader, as a transformational leader, what you do is you act as a role model. So you don't just do a leader because you want to be a leader. You have to be a role model, and you have to be consistent and close to your followers. By so doing, they look at you as somebody they can always depend upon, somebody they can actually work with, and somebody they know that, yes, we're actually being led well. Because with a high interpersonal relationship that you build, it will be used as an inspiration to guide your leaders, and that brings a lot of good things in your leadership. Now, having said this, the question is, how many of us do really want to be leaders, take that leadership and go on, even in politics? I was looking at someone who I don't want to call his name, whom I have been looking at as something I want to take as a role model. He has imbibed this with some kind of steadfastness. Today, he's more or less like a consultant to the so-called politicians. And now he is being asked to come and take over some good positions. And if Nigeria wants to be so wise to be able to make sure that, yes, they are sincere to give leadership to he or she that is best for it, such persons are actually there, and such persons merit it. So when you take this into consideration, you become like a consultant, you become like an expert in leadership. And then people begin to consult, even the politicians give it to you because they know that, yes, you are worth it. And when you do that, Nigeria becomes a better place for all to be, thereby making us have a choosing candidate that is best fitting for that. Having said that, I also want to say, it may not be that easy for one to go through this turmoil, but we have to be consistent and with focus to ensure that we lead and make that change in the polity. If we will do that, we will own it, and when we own it, we will strive it, And when we strive it, Nigeria becomes a better nation. And this is one thing I expect everybody to look up, because when we leverage on just the leadership style of people without having our own individual, innovative, intellectual, standardized mode of stipulation, we might not get it right. But let's put these two together and ensure that Nigeria becomes a better place, even in the less time forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, George. You have really, given us a full session on what leadership is in less than 4 minutes. And we really appreciate your in-depth explanation of the kind of leadership we should look forward to as experts and also young professionals as well. So move on quickly to Adebola, your question. We have the floor now. What effects does the current technology and advancement in the oil and gas industry have in Nigeria? And what's your advice for us to move forward?
Okay, so I think this is a very good topic, but I will twist it a little bit. Honestly, I think we are talking too much about the oil and gas industry. I really need us to also be talking about the energy mix itself and where the energy mix is coming from. There's a lot of factors to that. So oil and gas is just a subset. So while I talk, I will also try to inject certain areas of the energy mix. Okay, so I've read in previous administration that Nigeria were trying to project our reserves, oil reserves, to more than 40 billions. That is as at 2020. It's not realizable, of course, and we can easily know most of these factors that has made us not to be able to have great reserves like the other countries. We are great exporter, okay, fine, but we are also great importers of refined products. But what does all this tell us? It tells us that besides all the factors that we are talking about, one stands out. In getting so much reserves like this, you need technology, okay? And how is the technology coming from? You need great funding. Besides the great funding, you need great investments. So the question now is that, are we getting those investments? Are people coming into this country to invest? Are we getting this great funding? Because when we're talking of funding, it's not about GTB, it's not about Zenith Bank. Just let's have that in mind, okay? It's not. We don't even have the capacity for that in the country. So we need great funding from somewhere. And what is our culture of also paying back? But I will come back to that. So if we have serious reserves, let's start from there. It helps us, of course, to have great production capacity. That's first. The second one is also it prolongs us in this oil business, okay? It's not just this type we're doing, we just explore, we get the oil out, boom. It's remaining a little bit, we give it to the marginal field, okay, let's go. The next one, but there is no long-term planning regarding this. So we need, maybe that's why we're not having the PIA, which is a great thing. And I've also seen the president inaugurate some committees for the implementation of this. This is great, but we have waited for this for how many years? 20 years, 20, from the time they began up till now. Now, in implementation, don't forget, when you plan, the implementation is not also very rosy. It's not very, very easy like that. We are trying to get there, but at the end of the day, you still discover that the technological advancement or the funding and the investment that will back this up is still not there. So, and this affects different strata in the country, because I mentioned in the previous time, the only thing we rely on now is just oil. Okay, we cannot rely only on oil and think we will grow the nation. So even if we have all the best reserves in our oil, we need to divest. We need to ensure other areas grow. We have PIA today, okay? But do we have guidelines like this governing other sectors that can make us grow from the agricultural area, from this to that? We don't have. We are just focusing now on the PIA, which is good. but we can calculate what will bring for us. You know, what is this going to bring for us? What will be the rate of returns in the next 5, 10, 30 years? What is going to bring to us? I don't know, but easily we can recalculate that. But for me, I think the country needs a lot of divestment so that people in another area can engage where we have solid governance, just as we have the PIA for the oil and gas industry. So having said that also, the issues we are having also now regarding, now we are starting slowly with the investment. Don't forget, the oil and gas industries, they are putting a lot of money into research, into a lot of things. So before you even get to a final investment decision, it takes a long, when you explore, if you start the exploratory well, honestly, before you get an FID, it takes a long time, some 10, some 20 years. So they think forward. So if we are still like staying around for them to be waiting for us, it doesn't work. So we need serious technological backup support, but to realize that we need a lot of funding, investments to come in. So one of the ministers in the past in Nigeria also mentioned, said $40 billion is not enough to drive this industry. He said their own estimate is about $100 billion in investment. So where are we going to get that? Of course, we need technological advancement in all facets of what we are doing. We have a lot of our gas being fled away. It's so difficult we cannot even cope with converting that already. They are just, our focus is just to get this oil out and sell. Okay, so we need a lot of funding to establish this industry we call it oil and gas. And of course, now we started talking about the energy mix. Okay, it still need a lot of funding coming in, and we need a lot of technology. Look at the carbon capture. It's a lot of funding you're going to use for that to capture your CO2. And then if you look at the end result of capturing and of course putting into usage, it will really enhance and support the country's investment, and of course we get a lot of cash, so to speak, from that. But how do we ensure we build these trusts in investors to stay put, to put all the technological advancements, the funding, the investment, and to support us? There's no nation that on their own supports themselves. No. Even in the US, you see they are doing a lot of things in China to come and support US. Even in the UK, if you look at the labels of most of it, it's from other nations also. There's so we need trust first and a good enabling environment for the investors. So we are not even talking about the downstream sector, which has so many potentials in terms of technical advancement that can really help us, from the LPG, LNG, and so on that we are doing. So from all the what we're getting from the Bonny Island, you can see most of them are being exported. So today I see here that gas prices, the cooking gas prices is increasing. There's no kerosene. So if you come back to the downstream sector, technological advancement will really help us. That's one. But two, how can we get to that level of ensuring we get the trust of all the resources that we are putting into these technological resources, and ensure that, of course, that we can sustain them, because sustainability is also very key. I'll try again and mention very, very clearly what the cardinal of this administration, they mentioned something. They said that this administration is anchored on anti-corruption. Is it one of the barriers for us getting into that technological phase, getting into this trust phase, getting into this investment funding phase? So the government said that we need serious attention to the issue of transparency. So this is what the government is saying. I'm just quoting exactly. So they believe that if we have strong transparencies, we have strong anti-corruption campaign. But we have been doing this campaign, right? So where are we really getting it wrong? Look, if we don't have great transparency and dealing with there's corruption everywhere in the world. Okay, so it's not only Nigeria. There's corruption, but how are they controlling this corruption so that whatever investment they are trying to bring into their country is still, they are still seeing it, they are still getting it. Okay, so this is very important. There's no investor that's going to do all these foreign investments where there is so much corruption and where there's no transparency. So we can learn from other nations to ensure that even though, yes, we have issue of corruption, there's issue of corruption in the US, there's issue of corruption in the UK, there's no place there's no corruption. But how are in the midst of that, how are they staying cutting, ensuring confidence of investors? Because if you talk of technological investment, when you need people at the end of the day. Yeah, so lastly, for me, in mentioning this, even though technological advancement is good for us to have great reserves, and this is not just exploiting the oil, great reserves, but we need clear investment, funding, and at the end of the day, transparency and anti-corruption needs to be dealt with. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. We can see that this session is well heated up, and I thought that we don't have enthusiastic or patriotic Nigerians, but clearly we have people that have a lot to put off or get off their chest at this time, you know, to contribute to the discussions of nation building. Our time is almost up, but we have 2 more questions for the
Is there a problem? I can't hear the moderator anymore.
Yeah, same with me here.
Marianne, can you take over from there, please? If Marianne is there, can you just take over so that we can be able to meet up time? I'm sure she lost connection.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, please, I'll just take over from her. Sorry for this glitch, my sincere apologies. Sorry, I'm trying to bring up the questions. All right. Okay, so the last question for Madam Onyinye. Okay, so your question goes like this. What are the common misconceptions among Nigerians regarding religion and culture? And how then can we leverage on our religious and cultural diversity to communicate more effectively?
Thank you very much, Marianne, and thanks for standing in quickly. Okay, as we know, culture is a way of the people, a way of life of the people, and religion is some sort of belief system or belief and worship in a super being, God or gods, depending on which side of the divide someone is. And so the cultural the most common misconceptions we know here in Nigeria, one is, for instance, every Northerner is a Muslim, or every Muslim is a Northerner, something like that, as simple as that. And again, it connects to what my sister Amina, tried to say around mistrust, around, because the bedrock of those are what history has told you, or what people have told us that came before us. Now, I want to take you back to what I have advocated from beginning of this, is informal education, which is the education you gather every day as you go on the street, as you live at home and all that. And that is, if we're aware of the next person's culture, the next person's way of life, the next person's spirituality, the next person's ideology, it helps us to communicate effectively. I tell you, there's a quote from the United Nations World Commission on Culture report. It says, culture is the whole complex of distinctive spiritual, material, intellectual, and emotional features that characterizes a society or a group. It includes creative expressions, community practices, and materials or built forms. Now, how does this tie together? If I am able to communicate with you in the language you understand, you will begin to see my point of view very quickly. If you cannot speak my language and I cannot speak your language, you will find out that we can't even, plain language, not even the inherent language, we can't even communicate, we can't even understand ourselves, not talk of effectively. So I think the grassroots thing is we have to go back to the basis. History was removed from our curriculum. It has been brought back. My son wrote junior WAEC recently, and they had to rush history so as to write it. So he didn't do it in JS1, JS2, but he now did it in JS3 and had to read all the books and then write it, which is a welcome development. But what about oral history? What about the folklore? What about the stories our parents used to tell us? How have I, because now we're talking about industry experts and we're saying we're industry experts, but that's not all to read. There are stories, there are histories that our parents have told us when they sojourned in the northern land, when they sojourned in Kaduna or Zaria and all that. They told us of the hospitality of the people. They told us when some of them went for youth service, they told us how after youth service, they got work in the medical centers there, how they gave them, they used to bring yams to them and all that. Those things, we are losing them. And those are points of communication. Those are points of identity. Those are points of understanding. Those are points of common reference. When you say, oh, I worked sometime in Bayelsa, and oh, I met somebody that really used to ask me how I was doing, and used to bring palm wine to me, or whatever. Those are points of reference, points of unity that we can use to communicate effectively. I don't know why I'm going traditional in this sense, because this is what my father taught me, that if you talk about history, if you tell people the story as it is, not painting the story and saying one side. If you remember Chimamanda, he said dangers of a single story. If you say one side of a story, then you're telling a lie. You have to tell it both sides, even if you add. So that is those misconceptions about saying, oh, the Mbise man or the Mbise woman. If you see, I will use that example because someone I met in my first year in school, said, my father told me, she's from Olo. She said, her father told, if you're going to Imo State University, please don't interact with any Mbise person, clearly. And then unfortunately for her, the first day she came to school, she didn't have accommodation. I gave her accommodation, made food, gave her. And when she was asking, where, I said Mbise, she shouted and almost, her eyes turned red. She said, I'm going to call my father and I will tell him he is wrong. This is what my father told me. That was so profound for me, right? So I think we should go back to the basics and just share those experiences we have, right? I have experiences with Amina. I have experiences with George. I have experiences with Bada, who who at different times have encouraged me in one way or the other. And I think that even if it comes to issue of governance and they say, oh, who will do this? They will not think about tribe. They will think about who is qualified. Is Onye qualified for this? And this is what can help us communicate effectively towards nation building, towards breeding peace, towards breeding unity across our nations. I think I see our time is fast spent. I will leave it at that, and I think you can unwrap that, much more.
Yes, thank you, Onye. Thank you so much. I really understand the perspective you're coming from. I went to Unity School, and I can tell you I have friends all over Nigeria. I see them as Nigerians and not having any cultural biases to anybody. But that's really, unified also. Those kind of structures can really help us to continue to bridge the gap between religious and cultural barriers. Thank you so much, Onye, for that insight. Amina, you have the floor right now. You are our final panelist. You started the session, so you end the session. And your question is, what are the most critical changes that we must make to face the future effectively as a country? And this is just, quickly summarizing it so that we can move on to the next activity.
Okay. Hello, thank you very much again. Yeah, I think everything has been discussed already. All the issues, everything around the problems of Nigeria, what we know, we have the laws. There's no perfect law anywhere, no perfect constitution, no perfect anything. But I would say that the problem, what we need, the changes we need to make are really attitudinal. Yes, we have a leadership problem, but it is from amongst us that people become leaders. So the problem is people, the people. We need attitudinal change. We need to build an ethical culture. Because in my opinion, those are the major things that are our problems in Nigeria. We have the technical, Nigerians are making way, if you look at US, UK, for example, in US, a lot of universities, I think, I can't remember my statistics here now, but there are a lot of graduate schools that are being headed by Nigerians, petroleum engineers. People are doing very well everywhere, but then when they come back to Nigeria, they're different because they acclimatize to what we have in Nigeria. We have the laws, but how are we implementing it? And somehow we have even legalized some of the things. Now for where you work, now there you go chop. You're paid, okay, even if you're not paid very well, why don't you? There are legal means of making sure that you get what your remuneration should be. It's not by hiding files under the table, extorting people or something. So I believe that our major problem, the key to national building our nation is that we must ensure to build an ethical culture. Ask ourselves, what am I doing? And I think one of the easiest ways is to build it into our school curriculum. Have courses on emotional intelligence, have courses on ethics, have courses on history, very important, because like Onye mentioned, you need to know each other, to understand each other, and to respect each other. For example, there's a culture somewhere, I can't remember, between Japan and one of these countries anyway. One of them, if they want to exalt you, to honor you, they give you something in red or draw out a red carpet for you or do something. In the same vein, there's another country again that red means disrespect. When you want to show disrespect to somebody, give him red. Okay, if you're coming, let's say the country is Japan, you're coming to Japan. A Japanese wants to honor you, he will roll out the red carpet. But you coming from, let's say it is Zambia, that is the other country, you come and you see red carpet. Okay, this person is insulting me, So that is why it is important for us to understand our culture. So that is why when people say we should expunge, which religion which religion you're doing, or which ethnic group you're from, so I said no. It's not it's not expunging it that will solve the problem. It's what do we do with that data when we get it? If I know where you're coming from, is it because I want to understand you better so that I know how to communicate with you better? So that means it is important for me to know that Onyinye is Igbo, so that I know how I can address her and what to say to her that will make sense to her. Likewise with me, I am a Muslim. For example, we're going to have a meeting. Maybe let's say, okay, you're going to have a program in Kano. A lot of people in Kano, I would say almost majority of people in Kano are Muslims. You want to put up it's important for you to know the religion, because you know that if you put your program to be between 1 p.m. to 2 p.m., nobody is going to come because they've gone to pray. You know, so that is the reason why you should know some of these things. Is not to use it to, you know, and that is where the issue of mistrust comes up, you know, so we have to work at that from the root. So we can do that in our curriculum, improve our curriculum to have emotional intelligence, ethics, and all of that. And then also put extracurricular activities. For example, for me, one of the things that has really helped me is extracurricular. I joined Rotary Interact Club when I was in school. And there's something profound that I picked up since that time, and it has always shaped everything I do. And that is the 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? You know, so by the time you have all of these things, you know, these things shape people, and then we become the nation that you want us to be. And then it is from amongst us that the leaders emerge. So if you're already ethical, you do everything right. Of course, when you become a leader, you're going to do things right. But if already you're selling rice in the market, you're rebagging.
Your time is
you know, so basically nation building,
right.
what we need to do to build the nation is to accelerate attitudinal change. Let us put it in our curriculum. Let us, both formally, informally, in homes, everywhere. Let us imbibe the culture of ethics. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to all our panelists. I do wish to first of all apologize to the participants and everyone else that we went way out of our time. And the reason is because this subject is very sensitive. It's very important that we really discuss this matter, especially considering where our nation is at this time. So I just had to let speakers and the panelists speak as much as they can concerning the questions that were posed towards them. So I apologize for letting it go longer than it should have. And I'm just thanking the panelists for spending their time, their expertise, their insight, their knowledge, their intellect, you know, sharing with us and telling us that, you know, this nation can move forward. We clearly have everything that we need to move forward. We have the resources, we have the people, we have the leadership, we have the ideas. Everything is right before us. All we are saying that, are we going to take a step forward? Are we going to pick something from this session and say, okay, right now, I'm going to work on my leadership, as what George said. I'm going to be a transformational leader. How do I work on that? Am I going to talk about in my own home? If I'm a mother, father, husband, wife, what am I going to do differently? Am I going to change the way we make decisions in my own home, as Onye has talked about? When we talk about models, modeling, different structures, what's the infrastructure that we can imbibe in Nigeria that the UK is doing? We already have the apprenticeship system going on. How can we invest in that? Do I have someone that is around me that I can invest a little bit? Okay, go and be an apprentice here. I will fund this for you within my own capacity. You know, those are the things that we need to even take back home and begin to start to imbibe going forward. This is not just a session for talking. This is a session for action. So I'm going to just end the session now. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to the panelists. Thanks to the participants. And we will say Nigeria is great. Not make Nigeria great again. Nigeria is great. We just need to make it greater. Thank you. And this ends our session on this roundtable. Thank you so much. I'm Ogo Ekwale once again. Marianne, I yield the floor to you at this time.
All right. Thank you very much, Ogo Ekwale. Thank you very much for moderating this section. It was very wonderful to see you ask all of those intriguing questions. Thank you so much. To all our panelists, thank you very much for sharing your insights. I mean, hearing all of this, I'm very proud to be in Nigeria. I'm very proud of all we have as Nigeria. Seeing all of this, I really believe that our diversity is our strength. And just like Ogo has mentioned, I really hope that we take this back and continue to be good ambassadors and citizens of Nigeria, because collectively we can build our country, Nigeria. So I really wish that we have a larger audience, but don't forget this section is on YouTube and this section was recorded. So you can continue to share with friends, family, and anybody who you wish is in this meeting, but was not able to attend. So shortly is the next item, which is just a brief entertainment from members of SP Port Harcourt section. So they shared different videos entries displaying their cultural diversity around belief, food, and a whole lot of things. So when this video is on, I will be releasing a poll where we can vote for the winners, or we can vote for any video we like, and anybody with the highest votes will be the winner for the video challenge. So what you should be looking out is was the message well paid? Was the message well passed about the person's culture, and how interesting is the video? So that is it. Just shortly, I will be displaying the video next, and that will be slightly the last agenda for today. So I'm sharing my screen. All right, please, I would need someone to confirm that he or she can hear me and can see my screen.
I can hear you and I can see your screen.
All right, so thank you very much. So the video will just start playing. By the way, let me release the pool. All right, so I'm launching the pool. So we have identity attached to each name. So just in case you don't know the name of the video, if it's too long or something you can't memorize, you can just memorize the keyword. We have, all right. So I have launched the pool and I'll start playing the video. So we have the first video here from Success Orakwe, Identity Culture. All right, so the second video we have from Oluwapelumi, Identity Value. So continue voting. So we have the next video from Ijoma Anthony, Identity Food. All right, so we have the next video from Haruna Inua, Identity Dress, Keep Voting. I hope you can see the pool.
Doing all the things you like, my temperature rising. You be my queen, I don't need no rules. It's a love song, I don't need no blues. You be my sugar, I don't need no juice. Baby, loving you is a must, yeah. What have I done, girl, I have no clue. From a distance, girl, I'm feeling good.
All right, so
doing all the things you like.
So we have the next video from Abraham.
Molly Agumbiade from SP Union, and today I'm going to show the Yoruba culture, and what I will be showing is the greeting in Yoruba, how a Yoruba person greets elders. And as a man, you are expected to prostrate when greeting an elderly person. For example, let's say a child who is a male child wake up early in the morning and is to greet his father. He is expected to prostrate to his father. I'll be making some illustration. So as a child, let's say I'm a child and I wake up in the morning to greet my father. I have to prostrate. I prostrate like this. I say, Baba mi ẹ káàárọ̀. So this is what a male child in Yoruba, and if it's a girl, you knew. They say ẹ káàárọ̀ bá mi.
All right, so next is from Patience Udo on heritage. That's her identity, heritage.
Hello, my people. Welcome to Akwa Ibom State. Oje Badi Bak Oro Ibibio Isongo Anang Mamado Iya. Yeah, in Akwa Ibom we have three major dialects: Oron, Anang, and Ibibio. We have varieties of food. We have the Afang soup, Edikai Kong soup. We have Ikon, Atama, Editan, Akbaba, Isop, and lots more. And here in Akwa Ibom we have the Good Road. We have the International Stadium is located here in Akwa Ibom State, and the people, they are good to go. Come and enjoy the priceless valley of home. Hey.
All right, so next we have the next entry from Dorcas Otis Koroso. Her identity, ethnicity.
As a unicultural state where ethics, taboos, customs, and traditions are the same all through the state. The cultural similarities tend to bind the people together, especially in such areas as their food, dressing, dances, songs, rituals, folklores, beliefs, and myths. Almost all aspects of its culture has provided fascinating experience for tourists and for vast investment opportunities too. Now the language. The Akwa Ibom state is multi-ethnic, so it has the Ibibio language, Anang, Oron, Eket, Ibono, Mbo, Itsumbonuso, and the Andonese. But English is the language of government and business. Now the most interesting part is the food. You know, when it comes to food, Akwa Ibom gives the best delicacy, and I give it to them. Their tradition, aferi kun, aferi boot, efere ndegi yak, efere tre. All those are served with gari, pounded yam, and fufu. They also have porridges including yam porridge, plantain porridge, maize, cocoyam porridge, and of course the popular and most delicious meal, the egg pankoko. Some
Right. So we move to the last video from Udo, Identity Belief.
Hello Nigerians, my name is Sememo Konudo. I am a Nigerian citizen from Akwa Ibom State. We have three major ethnic groups in the state, which are the Anang, Ibibio, and Oron tribe, respectively. As an indigene of Abak local government, I represent the Anang tribe. Anang people are known to be very hardworking in nature, and notably the Abak region, which is known for its oil palm produce. Like most African tribes, the traditional religion of the Anang people is based on the belief in the existence of a supreme being called Abasibum, God of the universe. We are fully embedded with a wide range of local delicacies such as Epankokwo, Afiafere, Ukankom, Abaratama, Otomboro, Editaiwa, to mention but a few. Distinct to our core values is the ability to speak well. The use of proverbs is highly desirable, especially among our leaders. Akwa Ibom, Ayaya, Happy Independence, Nigeria.
All right, thank you very much, everyone. And that brings us to the end of this exciting video presentation. I hope you were all entertained seeing the different geopolitical zones in Nigeria. So I'll be ending the poll. Are we still voting? Keep voting. Keep voting, keep voting. So I'm having a tie. Please, if you have not voted, please just vote so that we don't have this this tie. Oh, there are plenty ties. Please, I just need 2 to 3 people to vote if you have not voted before I will end the poll. All right, so I would end the poll. So I'll just share my results with you to see. All right. So the first three we have Success Orakwe, we have Patience Ini Udo, and we have Udo. So these are the first three, and they are the winners of this video challenge. And they'll be communicated to on how to redeem their prizes. Thank you very much, everyone, for participating. All right, so I'll just go back to the next agenda for today so that we can bring this event to a close. All right, so the next is the Kahoot game, but we are running out of time. This meeting, this discussion was supposed to end by 12 p.m. and I think we've gone far beyond 12 p.m. So at this junction, I would invite the program's chair to carry on with the closing remarks so that we can end for today and we can all celebrate independence. So over to you, program's chair. Hello, Mr. Daniel, can you hear me? All right.
Hello. Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
All right, ma. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Hello, ma.
Yeah.
We can
Good
hear you.
afternoon. Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon. Thanks everyone for joining. It was really interesting listening to the different speakers share their views on how we can improve this country, and we really appreciate everyone. My special thanks goes to Amina, Onyinye, George, and Bada for creating time to join in this event. And for everyone that attended, we're very grateful. So happy Independence Day. Nigeria is 61 today. We'll pray that things will be much better, and the country will get to a better place. So enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, ma. And without wasting much time, please, I would like to invite any volunteer to lead us in a closing prayer. Please, anyone to take us through the closing prayer so that we can all round up for today.
Okay, I want to take the closing prayer.
All right, thank you very much, sir.
Okay. In Jesus' name, amen. Our Father and our God, we thank you for today, and we thank you for this wonderful opportunity to deliberate as an organization, as a society of petroleum engineers, on the diversity of our country and the unity it can bring when we congregate and harmonize our purposes and dissolve our differences and mistrust. We also thank you for this forum to be able to learn about other cultures, other things that we necessarily will not know within our own individual enclave, and at the same time help us to build and foster better relationship among ourselves. It was a great moment. Lord, we say be exalted in Jesus' name. Once again, we thank you for you to bless the speakers and for each of us that have heard and listened. May the things we have learned today, from today, begin to show in our relationship with our fellow countrymen in everything we do, and make us better people at the end of the day, make a better society for all of us. For this and many more, we pray and ask through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Moses, for ending this section for us with a wonderful prayer. So please, if you can, we can move over to the photo section. If you're still in the meeting, you can put on your video while I take a screenshot of anyone in the meeting. So, all right, please, if you can, please. All right.
Should we smile or not?
All right, thank you, everyone. So exciting to see your beautiful faces once again. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. And that brings us to the end of today's section. Thank you. God bless you. God bless Nigeria, and enjoy the rest of your day. Happy Independence once more. Bye. All right.
Thank you very much. Ngwanu, Onyinye, go and return that thing that you have on your neck, or submit it to me.
Madam Mami, now me greet Buhari there. Tell him say hello.
Okay, I will. Engineer, how are you?
Fine.
Well done.
Thank you. Take care. Happy Independence.
All right. My regards to the family.
And you too.
I wasn't hearing. Okay.
Onyinye, I say go and return daddy's scarf. Oh. You posed enough.
I'm telling you. It was nice.
Well done. It was a
Thank
very
you.
nice
Thank you.
session. Thank you.
Yes, it was.
Thank you
It
for
was.
inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you so
All right.
much.
Have
for
a nice
honoring
day.
us.
Yeah.
And you too.
everyone.
All right.
Thank you
Bye,
so
everyone. Thank
Alaji,
you.
happy Independence, Alaji.
Ah, I see Alaji.
Yes, Sister Justina, I have one of my neighbors online. Happy Independence.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
So
Thank you.
let's go and have more fun and build the Nigeria that we desire. Yeah.
Yep. It will happen.
Bye. Yes, yes, sure.
Okay.
Bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Hello, Simeon. Hello.
Yeah, so I can end the meeting now.
Hello, Simeon.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can end the meeting. Wonderful section. Thank you very much.
Okay.